Hi folks, what's up? This video is about the general strategies for the reading section of the TOEFL test, and I'm going to talk about the 20 different tips and strategies that you can use in order to improve your reading score. The strategies within these slides have been taken from different popular sources and have been helpful for most of the TOEFL test takers, and they can grant you a higher score on the TOEFL test. So let's get into the slides. The general strategies. The first one is about having a wide academic vocabulary. The wider your academic vocabulary is, the better chance you have to tackle down those questions and answer them correctly. Keywords phrasing and the question and answer options may be different. It means that they are conveying the same message into different ways, maybe by using synonyms, antonyms, and even changing the order of the words, which is paraphrasing. And by this, they are checking your ability in order to understand the same message expressed into different ways. Watch out for distractors. TOEFL is full of distractors. They have just traps in everywhere. They're waiting for you to put you in that trap and to misguide you into the wrong options. Be careful about that. Maybe the title or the topic of the passage is familiar to you and you have a previous knowledge about it. So try not to stick with your previous knowledge and try not to answer those questions based on your previous knowledge. Just only use the evidence that you read in the passage, and that's very important. If in the passage it says that the yogurt is black, then accept it. Try not to think about other experiences that you had previously. Deduce meaning from context. It means that if a word or some words are not familiar to you and you don't understand the meaning of the word, try to get the meaning of those words by thinking and focusing on the words after and before those kind of words. It means that you are going to make an educated guess. You're not going to exactly know the meaning of that unknown word, but you're so close to understand the main message of that sentence, and try to use the educated guess as the meaning of the unknown word. Remember the question location. It's important in TOEFL because the passages are a lot, the questions are a lot. Sometimes you are going to be confused, like where to look to find the answer for a particular question. It means if you remember the question and location, and it makes it easier for you to answer questions step by step. And here says find the answers faster by focusing on the location of the previous answer. For example, you have found the answer for the second question in the second paragraph. It is usually the case that you are going to find the third answer for the third question after the second paragraph. And it goes for all the questions of the TOEFL in the reading section. Stay focused. Having a high level of attention and concentration while reading a text is so vital while reading the paragraphs of the TOEFL. For example, while you're reading a text and it's while preparing for the TOEFL test, you should not look around. You should not play with something. You should not do it in a noisy place. Try to be in a quiet place and try to put all your attention into the text and the words that you're reading. Try to get and comprehend the ideas that are expressed into different ways. First look at the topic, then the question, then read the paragraph. It's important to understand what the passage is about. So for that, we are going to read the title and remember it all along while you're reading the passage. Then read the question. Do not try to read the passage first. It's a trick, very important, like most of the teachers out there, they are not accepting it. But it's my methodology and has been very successful for the students of mine. Try to read the passage. No, just try to read the question first. And after reading the question, try to go to the paragraph. Try to just read the question once. When you read it, close your eyes for 1 second to make sure you really understand it. It's so important to understand the question correctly. Like in the TOEFL, we have said it, that there are many traps and distractors. For example, there are one negative word in the question that you will not pay attention into it, and the whole meaning of the question is going to be something different from the main one. So understanding the question is going to take you halfway through the answer. So pay attention on the question, try to understand it. When you understand that question, then go for the paragraph. Read the paragraph and don't think about any other thing. Just focus on the words, on the sentences, and especially on the transition they are used in that paragraph. and try to make that answer in your own words. Still, you haven't read the options, you do not have something previously in your mind about that question. So that's a clear and blank page to fill in while you're reading the paragraph itself. Next, after reading the paragraph, before looking at the answers, just paraphrase your answer. So, you got the question, now you got the information from paragraph, try to paraphrase what you have got from that paragraph. So, try to paraphrase it, now change it into your own words. As a result, it will be so easy for you now to read the options and choose the correct one among them. If the reading is hard, do not panic out, because hard readings usually they have simpler questions. It's a trick in the TOEFL, like they are bringing a hard passage sometimes for the student to just scare them and deplete their energy and their sources. So in that case, they're just checking you how consistently you can just keep your energy level until the question comes and you answer them. So if the text or if the passage is hard for you, don't worry, maybe the simple questions are coming alongside. The strategy number 13 is telling us to be aware of modifiers. And modifiers, they are those that they are adding additional information to the nouns and main subjects of a sentence or context. They have four categories. The first is extreme modifiers, and they are all, always, never, and only. Just to tell you this, in the TOEFL context, we are not using extreme modifiers. Why? Because TOEFL is academic, and in the academic subjects, extreme modifiers, they are not being used because they are just rejecting 100%, maybe in a negative point or in the positive point, and they do not have a place in the TOEFL subjects. The next is frequency modifiers, and frequency modifiers, they are usually sometimes almost and can be like every time, like every other day, every morning, every afternoon, and those kind of modifiers. And just to let you know, they cannot be used instead of each other. Maybe in the context you have seen that the modifier of usually has been used, and in the four options of the question, and instead of usually, sometimes has been used. Just to let you know, it's not the correct form because they cannot be used instead of each other. You should immediately eliminate that option if you've seen another modifier, because modifier, they are just unique and they have their own meaning. They cannot be used instead of each other. The case is the same for the degree modifiers. For some, most, and many, few, and less, all, high, they are all degree modifiers that they have their specific meaning and they cannot be used instead of each other. The differences between them in the usage of the options and in the context can make problem for you, and they are part of the distractors and tricks of the TOEFL test. Be aware of them. Last is about the time modifiers. They are like century, millennium, decades, and many more. One of the examples that the students have faced many problems is this one that I have brought you in here. Maybe in the context or in the passage of the reading, you have seen this year 1500s, and the options, they have brought this 15th century to just have an equation with the 1500s to like make you disappointed in here. The 15th century is not equal to 1500s. Why? Because 1500s is in the 16th century, not in the 15th century. That's the differences of time calendar. Try to learn those as well. They're going to be handy. Next, identify the question type. It's important to remember what question type you're working with, because in every question type you're learning and studying different techniques and different styles of answering the question. In the actual test, while you're working with a question and you remember the question type, you immediately can remember yourself of the tricks, of the tips and the techniques that you have learned and you have practiced with, and immediately you can just go for the right answer. Narrow your focus and limit your keywords. Keywords, they are playing big roles in the TOEFL, guys. I'm telling you this, and I'm repeating, I'm emphasizing at this part. Keywords, they are like the most crucial part while practicing for the TOEFL. For example, because they are having and they are conveying with themselves the most valuable information in a passage. For example, this sentence, like Barack Obama has been elected as the president of the United States. And in here, United States and the Barack Obama, maybe they have like valuable information, but the keyword of this part is election. Why? Because the election happened, and that was the reason that the Barack Obama is now in command and is now ruling the country of the United States. By the way, Barack Obama is not the president, now is the Joe Biden. Just it was an example. Next 16 strategies is about eliminating before you answer. Earlier, we talked that you should just change the answer that you have got from the paragraph and change it into your own words. And here we are saying to try to eliminate before you answer. Why? Because you have your answer in your mind and you're reading the options. While you're reading the options, you can immediately guess like which options are incorrect, and by eliminating them you're narrowing down your options. Maybe you have 5, 6 or 4 options to choose one from them. While you're removing the incorrect options, it makes it easier for you to narrow down and choose the best option. Strategy number 17. Practice with the same test more than once. It's important to let you know that you should practice with the questions, with the sample question that I have been giving for the past TOEFL test takers. And they are usually on the website, PDFs, and also in the form of softwares. Those softwares, they are just simulating the actual environment of the TOEFL test. They are good for giving you clues on how you can prepare yourself completely for the test. Try to use or download one of those softwares and try to work with them. They are like best for preparing yourself for the TOEFL test. And here try to split between those kind of practices. For example, you're working with a test number 1 and you have faced some problems. You're going for the solutions and you're solving your problems. After 1 or 2 weeks, try to come back again to that test. Why? Because in that case, you're going to remember the lessons that you have learned. Next, there are 3 reasons that why the students are choosing wrong answers. First, that they are misreading the question. They do not understand the question completely and like immediately they're going for the paragraph without understanding the question. That's the mistake number 1. Number 2 is like they're misreading the passage. Maybe they got to understand and they got the question right, but they are not reading carefully the paragraph. So also it's making some problem for them. The number 3 is that they do not understand the vocabulary. Maybe you're paying attention on reading the question and you're paying attention on reading the paragraph, but your academic vocabulary is not up to that level to let you have a good comprehension about the main or the gist of the answers and the gist of the questions. So it's going to be problematic for you. Try to avoid these 3 mistakes and you're good to go and solve the problems. Pick the right time to practice. It's important to practice in a time that you're the best version of yourself. It means that you should have the high energy and high stamina for just sitting in front of a computer and just gazing into the screen and reading long sentences and paragraphs and stay focused. For that kind of practicing, you should have a high energy level. And for that, you should just choose the best time in a day or at night. Try to figure out the best time, and maybe it's in early in the morning, maybe it's late at night. It differs from people to people, but it's important to just figure it out and practice on that time. And the last strategies is about picking the right place. It's as important as picking up the right time. The place should be like it should be quiet, not noisy, like the people like the trafficking, they're going around and they're making noises. They're just distracting you from paying attention into the passages, and it's going to be problematic. Try to just pick the right time with the right place, and then you're good to go with your practice. That's the end of the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure to apply whatever you have learned today. Have a nice day and see you later.